Good morning, Algebra 1 students. Listen, a little sad today because, some of you have decided not to finish your AMI work, and I want to encourage you to still watch the videos, do the lessons. Maybe you're not going to turn them in because a lot of you will be taking Mr. Cagle next year for Algebra 2. And the more you learn under me, the easier Algebra 2 will be for you next year. As you can tell, I haven't just given you busy work. I'm still teaching, we're learning new things, you're making progress. And so I hope that you hang with me until the school year is over. Well, today is April the 16th. We're on lesson 12. We're still completing the square. This is part 3 because today I want to talk about a fraction in completing the square. So that's the first thing I want to go over is this. If you have a fraction, how do you divide by 2? How do you take half of it? Well, I just answered it. Divide by 2. So if you took this and divided by 2, that is the same thing as taking your fraction and multiplying times 1/2. So you're going to need to know this today. How do you multiply fractions? Straight across. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so you're going to have fractions today on completing the square. Alright, so example 1 is something like 5x squared equals 6x plus 8. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my x's over here and then my number on the other side. Remember that you have to have that invisible 1 first. Okay, so you can do your moving first or you can divide by 5 first. That part doesn't matter. So I'm going to bring down my 5x squared. I'm going to move my positive 6x. It becomes a negative 6x and then equal 8. Now I'm going to go back and get my invisible 1 in front of x squared. How do you do that? Divide by whatever the number is. So that number is a positive 5. So you're going to divide by a positive 5 all the way across. Now, that gives you x squared minus 6/5 x. Okay. Now, there's our fraction. All right. Plus a blank equal 8/5 plus a blank. Then we have to figure out that blank. Okay, here we go. I'm going to show that part. Well, I've got to take half of that fraction. So you can divide by 2 or you can multiply times 1/2. So I don't use the sign. I'm going to take my 6/5 and I'm going to multiply by 1/2. Well, how do you multiply fractions? Straight across. So 6 times 1 is 6 and 5 times 2 is 10, and that reduces. They're even numbers, so they will divide by 2, reduce by 2. So 2 are going to that, 2 are going to 6 3 times, 2 are going to 10 5 times. And so you go, oh, so we're adding 3/5 to both sides? No. We've only taken half of it. We've got to square it now. So you've got to square the 3 and the 5. So what's 3 squared? 3 times 3. That's 9. And then 5 squared, 5 times 5, is 20. 25. Now, that is the number that you're adding to both sides. And you should show that work kind of to the side of your problem. Work out your problem, do your chicken scratch to the side. So don't forget, I'm adding 9 over 25. So I'm going to rewrite this again, except this time I'm adding 9 over 25 in my blank. 9 over 25. Now, I've got to do factor, skip, factor. And you go, that's going to be a nightmare. No, it's not. No, it's not. 2 parentheses, and you're going x squared is x times x. Skip over the middle. Same signs, look back, 2 minuses. Now do them individually. 2 numbers that give you 9, and it has to be the same number. 2 numbers that multiply give you 25, but it has to be the same number. So, 2 numbers that give you 9 is 3 times 3, fraction bar line. 2 numbers that give you 25 is 5 times 5. So that wasn't too bad at all. Now, type that into your calculator, and when you type in your calculator, chances are it's going to give you a decimal. You do not want the decimal form, you want the fraction form. And the fraction form for that is 49 over 25. Rewrite this. This always has to be the same thing. So that's where that 2 is coming from. 49 over 25. How do you get rid of a square? Take a square root. Then whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So now, I'm going to cross-cancel my square root and my square. Drop the parentheses. They have served their purpose. There's no need for them. Equal. Don't forget the plus or minus. Okay, so when you draw the square root sign, the next step is automatic. That's when you have to put the plus or minus. And again, when you're doing a fraction, do the top number, numerator, then do the denominator. So the square root of 49 is 7. They have a fraction bar line. I have a fraction bar line. The square root of 25 is 5. And the last step is to move your number over. Fractions add with other fractions. So you're going to go x equal positive 3/5 plus or minus 7/5. You can keep going. X equal, now, you have a common denominator, so you can type it into your calculator or use your brain. 3 plus 7 is 10. 10 divided by 5 is 2. Or you can type in 3/5 plus 7/5. 3/5 minus 7/5 is negative 4/5. And again, what are your answers? They're the x-intercepts. If you were to graph this, this would be a parabola, concave up, because the leading coefficient was positive. And it would cross at those numbers. Okay, let's do another one. Only have one more. That went really well. This will be our last day on Complete the Square. Tomorrow is Friday, and we will start something new. Now what? I'm not sure. All right, so 2x squared equal 3x minus 4. What kind of problem is this? It's a quadratic. It's got an x squared. The highest exponent is a 2, so it's a quadratic. What method are we using to solve it, to figure out the answers? Complete the square. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my x's to the left, and then I'm going to leave my -4 over, and then I'm going to make sure I have an invisible 1 here. So I'm going to divide everything by 2. And again, today's lesson is different because you have a fraction there. This actually divides out evenly. Now, again, how do you take half of a number? Divide by 2. Or that's the same thing as saying multiplying by 1/2. So off to the side somewhere, I'm going to show that. I'm going to show 3/2 times 1/2. That's taking half of it. Multiply straight across. So that's going to give me 3/4. That's the number I add? No. Take half of it, which is what you did. But then you have to square it. So, square the 3 times 3. That gives you 9. Square the 4 times 4. That gives you 16. That's the number that you need to put in your blank on both sides. 9/16. 9/16. Boy, this looks ugly. Now, you are going to open 2 sets of parentheses, and you're going to factor, skip, factor. And x squared is x times x. Skip over the middle. Plus sign, same kind of signs. Look back to see which kind. 2 minuses. How do you factor a fraction? Well, again, do the numerator, then the denominator. 2 numbers that multiply give you 9. But it has to be the same number. 3 times 3. 2 numbers that multiply give you 16. But it has to be the same number. 8 times 2? No. That's not the same number. 4 times 4. So x minus 3/4, x minus 3/4. You would type this into your calculator. It give you a decimal. You don't want that decimal. You want the fraction form, which is -23/16. All right. So now we're almost done. And we're going to rewrite this with 1 parentheses. And you go, how many of those do I have? I have 2 of them. Equal -23/16. How do you get rid of a square? Take a square root of both sides. Cross cancels. Because they're inverses, they undo each other. Drop the parentheses, x minus 3/4 equal plus or minus. Now look at this. Whoa, I gotta think about this. Well, -23. Because it's negative, you're gonna lose the negative and add on an I. Very good. 23. You would try to factor tree it, but it's prime. What does that mean? Only has 2 factors. 1 times 23. So you're going to have to leave the 23 as a 23. So it's going to look like this. Square root of 23, and then there's my I. Lose the negative when you add on the I. Imaginary numbers. Now, do the denominator. Square root of 16. Now 16 is a perfect square. So that's going to give you 4 right there. Now that is some Algebra 2 stuff. Aha! So, move your number back over. X equal, the negative 3/4 becomes a positive 3/4 plus or minus square root of 23 I divided by 4. Now, let me ask you this. Do numbers add subtract with radicals? Do numbers add subtract with i's? Absolutely not. I's would only add with other i's. You can't combine them. You are done. All right, very good, very good. This is something you'll have to learn in Algebra 2, and believe me, the more you learn under me, the easier your Algebra 2 class is going to be next year. Please, please, please hang with me. I have actually enjoyed doing these videos for you guys. Okay, so here's the bad news. You know, now it's homework time. So please put your name on your papers. Today is the 16th. Hey, we're already on lesson 12. Oh, I only have 3 problems that are complete this square. They all 3 have fractions. A little review work right here on factoring. GCF, factors get factor. Number 7 is a cube. No, number 8 is a cube. So difference of squares. Just a little review there. So you don't forget. So there you go. Hey, I will see you tomorrow. And tomorrow's Friday. And I'll wish you a good weekend. All right, have a good day. See you later. Bye.